Our preview and predictions for the 2023 Texas Pro featuring Andrew Jack, Carlos Thomas Jr. and Hunter Labrada. Plus also I want to make a correction as well. In this video I have a video of Carlos Thomas Jr. which is said to be 1 week out. It's actually 5 to 6 weeks out. So just be aware of that when watching this one. Anyway guys, hope you enjoy this episode of Bodybuilding University. What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back for another episode of Bodybuilding University. Today, I'm joined by Logan Guthrie, who's fresh off his pro debut in the Classic Physique, and also Stanimal Stan DeLonju out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. Boys, how are we doing this week? We're going to preview the Texas Pro. We've got a few other things we're going to talk about as well, but I'll go to you first, Logan. How was the pro debut experience, man? Like, which show was it again?
Tampa Pro.
Tampa. How was it?
Fucking incredible, man. Like I couldn't ask for a better experience. I mean, people were like, I can't believe he only got 12th out of 30 guys. But yeah, that's 12th out of 30 people. I was like, that was the largest lineup of the year.
Yeah.
I was like, I placed ahead of guys who have won shows. I've placed ahead of guys who have qualified before. I was like, I got to stand next to people that I could only dream of getting to stand next to. I was like, I think I had more fun standing on the sideline watching them pose. If you watch some of the videos, I'm like, I'm cheering them on. I'm loving every minute of it. So I mean, man, I couldn't ask for it, but it was a great experience, man.
Oh, Tim Garner show, it's always great for sure. It's definitely.
And that was another reason why, because I remember going to it plenty of times and helping one of my buddies and everything do it and everything backstage. And I was like, man, I want to do this show so bad. That's why I always went to that as my pro debut, and it didn't disappoint. And man, they were moving, dude. They didn't play around.
No, they have all the pro divisions, so yeah.
Man, they were going. So it was great though.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's really cool. Do you have any, like, coming away from it, you're like, okay, what's the plan now? And do you see anything where you want to improve or anything like that?
I mean, I just need to keep filling out my frame, and I mean, the bigger and more muscle I can put on, the harder. I mean, I can suck down more too. I do know that. That's one thing me and my coach realized, and this is me and my coach's first prep together. Like, so we had a great off season. We figured out my off season like to the T. So this was our first prep. Just start putting those pieces together to now we know certain things that we did that we're like, okay, we can do this different now. So, which that's a part of the journey, which is the importance of sticking with the same coach for an extended period of time after a while. Once you find like that coach for you, like then it's like, okay, stick with it. Now let's figure this shit out.
Yeah. Yeah, so, for sure, man.
So we just need to fill it out and just keep getting bigger.
Yep, for sure. And obviously, like now they've increased that weight cap as well, man. Like, so what's your, I suppose, as a pro now, have you gone up how many pounds? Is it 7 pounds?
What? For when they did the increase?
Yeah.
I don't know for mine, it only went up to 4 pounds.
Okay.
So it went up to 204, but that gives me about almost 8 pounds I can put on extra. With this. Which then, like we just talked about, with conditioning being the key thing that they really like, we can actually put on probably a little bit extra since we can pull down even harder now. So,
well, I don't think
it's more like 10, 12 pounds.
But it's just that it's impressive, and like the bigger you are, the more you have to suck in to make weight, the drier, harder, like, it's just like even more multiplied in classic physique because
no, exactly.
You can really push the fullness, and then if you're really big, you're gonna be that more, lean.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's what we're aiming for. So, I mean, we're obviously going to do it the best, smart way and not go stupid with it. Like,
yeah, but and the tricky part, too, after that is just to find exactly that sweet spot where you can still get that fullness back for stage. Because if you have to really suck in to make weight, you're going to lose a lot of pop.
Yeah, well, that was another thing that's another thing we had to figure out. Like, we may need to suck down a bit harder, but then start filling out sooner.
Yeah.
That way we can keep, like she said, we'll be able to find that we're able to weigh in right at the 204, but we'll be carving up into it. That way by the time we get on the stage, it'll be there. We won't have to worry about like any bloating, which we didn't have any bloating or anything, but it just eliminates any variables of possible distension or anything of the food processing or.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, that's strategy, but that's temporary because then you're going to get too big where you can't, going to be really, really cutting close. So
Yeah. So.
that out.
Yeah.
But that's good
Yeah.
for next year.
And the advantage is you got a really small waist as well, man. So you're not holding extra weight in the midsection too. So obviously, like when you add more weight, as long as you're not adding it to your midsection, which you just don't. You see certain guys, and you're like, even if they added a little bit to their waist, it's not going to matter at all. You can't see much weight going to your waist anyway. You know.
Well, the good thing is now we're starting to implement and practice vacuums to really control, and which for me, I mean, I've never tried them and practiced them before, so I'm like now practicing.
They work.
I can help even more so with waist control, and hell, if I can pull a vacuum and actually look decent on my physique, because I don't believe the vacuum's meant for everybody.
No.
So I was like, if I can do it and it looks good, even better. But if not, then at least it will still help with just better waist control, which then, like you said, will
it makes
emphasize it even more.
I agree. It's a great idea.
So.
Yeah, that vacuuming for me, man. I did it because I did, classic bodybuilding, as it was called back when I used to do it, and I did that, and my waist was still reasonably small. But I remember in my prep, it was like a little bit thicker than it was past preps. And then I moved and did men's physique. And like there was the size difference was about the same, like in terms of muscularity. But I started doing vacuums at like 10 weeks out or whatever. And I would just do literally 3 rounds every morning of just like, breathe right in through my stomach and then breathe out and then just pull it up and hold it for as long as I could. Do that 3 times every single morning before food, before water. And my waist was so tight. Like even without trying, I would then just do like a front relax or something, and my waist would just go like and suck right up. And it's literally like I lost like inches off my waist. I never measured it, but for me, I was like, wow, vacuums work. Like, or maybe there's like my digestion was better or whatever. I don't really know, but it was very noticeable. Like when I see photos now of me like 4 weeks, 3 weeks out of that first men's physique comp, I was like, holy crap, my waist was tiny then. Like it was just like, where do my organs fit? So, and you've got that sort of waist, man. So with vacuums, you might even have that accentuated more with more muscle on the rest of your physique. So
just even for posing, it's a huge asset. You just more control even on your breathing, just more control of the midsection. So when you get started, you're able to catch your breath more easily. So yeah, it's definitely a huge tool.
Yeah, Stan, do you do them like often?
Every morning, do 10 rounds.
How long
10
do you
rounds,
hold it for?
I hold it for I started with like maybe 10 seconds. Now I do like over 20 seconds.
Okay.
That's impressive. Because 20 seconds doesn't sound that crazy, but when you're doing it, like I actually put my fingers up under my rib cage when I do them. Like I pull right in, and then like right near the end of me being able to hold it, I'm like my throat starts to go weird and everything. Like it's hard. Like, and when I started 10.
Yeah. I'm realizing now, man, if you do it right, the pain I feel like like in here, like it's like a good pain, but it's like you feel yourself like pulling it in. I'm like, holy shit, that I'm having to hold that, but I'm like, I know it'll get easier as I continue to do it, but I try to come guns ablazing and go 20 to 30 seconds right out the gate.
Dying.
Just stick to one thing and keep doing it, like over time you get better.
Yeah. I was a bit of a pussy with it, but I just saw the three every morning, like every morning almost without fail. That was working, so I was like, yeah, I'll stick to this.
Well, I do 10. I'm like, that's one set of 10 reps. Technically, it's not crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I started it, and that's what I've been doing now for like 6 months or so, and I'm keep getting better. But what I do is like I put the mirror next to me, so I see how far I'm pulling my stomach, and I start to see it more and more because I like to be like hunched over, like having elbows on the table or something, and just pull. I like it better that way.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I just did mine straight standing up and just put my fingers under my ribs just to make sure it was as far in as possible. And then I just hold it and just, do it in front of a mirror. Because if you're not doing it in front of a mirror, I feel like it's just, I don't know, it's more distracting and you're wondering if you're doing it properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. All right, Stan, how you been, man? What's been going on?
I'm pretty good, man. Just still recovering from the shows. Nothing crazy right now. kind of on hold, waiting for the green light. Put on size.
Very nice. How's it been out there in Vegas with the gyms and stuff? Have you seen many of the guys around there training or anything?
I've been seeing Nick, and Nick looks freaking huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
stupid huge, like way bigger than he's been, which is probably crazy. It's hard to believe.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's wanted to bring this year, that like crazy level of freakiness. He's like, they want big. He's like, I'm going to bring big. So as long as he can bring conditioning with it.
Like that was, I don't think that was even his approach. He was, I think he wanted to be like around 285 at most. He ended up like in the 290s without pushing food, nothing.
His body just wants to grow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he's responding really well to his new training and stuff. So his legs are freaking massive. He did legs next to me the other day. His leg was so pumped. Like we're going to train legs normally next week together. So,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Very, very cool. But we've got the Texas Pro coming up. We'll get straight into that and cover that first. That's coming up this weekend, and we're maybe going to have Keone on it, hopefully at some stage. We've sent him a link, so hopefully he jumps in there. And he's doing the 212, but he said the carbs are making him pretty tired, so maybe he's crashed out potentially because didn't hear back from the last message. But yeah, so what's that?
It's good that he sleeps finally. You know, it's hard to get sleep, so
Yeah.
His body's probably just like
Yeah, he's probably just I mean, it's sort of good in a way. Like if you're able to introduce carbs early, like he's able to, and he's not hitting that weight limit yet. Probably because he has like the small waist, like you, Logan, like and Stan. Like it's crazy. He's got heaps of He's still got plenty of pounds. I think he's about. I saw he put up a photo, and I think it was either 206 or 204 pounds or something he was. But I think the last time, 206.
It was the other day, yeah. So it was already,
And he's still carving up, so I assume he's going to be easily
the lowest, I think.
What was the lowest?
206, I think that's the lowest weight he got to.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, he's definitely upped in weight because I remember he was at least like, I think he was around that 200 pounds or under.
Yeah, I think it was 203. But like now he's in way better condition too, so he definitely put on more than like the 3-4 pounds.
Yeah, I remember hearing Patrick Tour talk about. Sorry, you guys saying?
No, I'm saying his condition he should be like he's already got deep lines in the glutes, hamstrings before hitting any diuretic or anything. So I mean, he should be looking pretty freaky.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait to see it, man. It's going to be really, really cool. But we'll discuss the Open first, and then we'll discuss Keone, and if he's not able to jump on, we'll show a few photos of him. But in the Open, I wanted to show this video first of Carlos Thomas Jr., who this is a week out as well. Nick Strength and Power actually put this up on his channel, and I can't remember the guy's name who actually took this video, but I'll put the link in the description below to his IG profile. But this is 1 week out, and obviously like the shape and everything and the muscularity and the biceps, when you look at the individual muscle groups, are crazy. But Stan, are you concerned at all about conditioning when you got a guy like Andrew Jacked and also Hunter Labrada coming into this show?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's in bad condition. I just don't think you got all the details like that Hunter or even Andrew is going to have. He's got the crazy shape, the roundness, the silhouette is crazy. But I don't see a lot of like really like all the small details. Like this front double, like he keeps turning his arm, he keeps getting bigger. It's crazy.
Right? It doesn't like stop.
That's what I was noticing too, man. So I look at his bicep, I'm like, he's turning it, it's bigger, it's bigger. It's like, what?
Well, it's almost like that with each pose. He just keeps going and going, and you're like, all right, he's gonna stop anytime soon.
It's insane. I think it's hard to tell, like we haven't seen him really compete much too, so maybe just hold a bit of water and hit the diuretics and boom, he's dry as hell because he's in good condition.
Yeah. Well, I know with ulcerative colitis you can hold fluid from it, so that's what he does have, and I don't know if it's affecting him at all now or not, but you can hold water from that. So maybe it could be, like you said, he just adds in the diuretics, cuts water or something, or does something in terms of that, and he just drops a bunch of water and fills out, so you really don't know at this stage.
I don't know if his glutes are this dug in compared to like Hunter. I think is going to be way better because he had 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you can do a lot of that, like a lot of changes.
That is true. I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be wild to see Carlos up there next to them, though. To finally get to see him like compared next to them.
Yeah,
I'm excited for though.
Man,
Mm.
my training partner just leaving tomorrow to watch, and I'm like, dude, you're lucky.
Right?
'Cause-
I like, man.
yeah.
Who's going to watch tomorrow?
My training partner, he's heading out over there to watch the show.
Oh, nice, nice. I'm jealous. I'm jealous, man.
Man.
But
Yeah, me too.
that'll be a battle. I'm just intrigued to see. I mean, even just say Carlos doesn't nail the conditioning like 100% and he ends up in third place. I'm still excited to see how that structure looks next to these other guys. And you
Yeah.
can still then imagine, like, okay, well, if he was inside out, how would he do? And it might be a certain situation where he just does this show, doesn't win, and then we're, anticipating what he could do next year if he nails it 100%. And Derek, you got to remember Derek Lunsford from the front. He's not the hardest guy now. From the back, Derek Lunsford actually is shredded. But he was still so good, and his structure was so crazy that he was able to beat out a whole bunch of guys not being as hard from the front. So maybe it could be that situation.
That's what I was just thinking about too. Is I'm like, you don't see something like this very often.
Mm.
And I mean, this is, I think, one of those physiques, almost like they said with Andrew Jack, where you don't need to be like inside out because he looks good. Like, yes, would you like to see it? But like they said, for him to like win shows like that, like to be an Olympian, you need to be inside out to be in that top, like for sure. Like they said, you don't see something like this very much. So I mean, you bring it just right, I think it could. You never know.
Yeah, but the thing is, you go against Andrew, is also like probably the most gifted.
That is a very good point.
And he's way taller, so like I'm excited to see how much Andrew progressed too. Because last year, between the Arnold and Texas, he changed so much.
Yep.
His legs blew up. Like I know he can do a lot in like a short period of time. So, and then now he's got his conditioning. Maybe a little less flat would be ideal, but like conditioning is pretty nailed down. So.
I think the minute he nails that conditioning from the rear, that's it.
But he nailed it at the Arnold. I think they pushed the dryness a little too much.
Yeah.
He looked a little on the flatter end, which is still a good look, obviously. But like I think he was like 20 pounds lighter than the Olympia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, on the latest Heavy Muscle Radio, which has Chris Aceto, which is Andrew Jack's coach, Chris Aceto was saying, he basically sent photos to Dave Palumbo, and he said, how much heavier is Andrew? And Chris said he'll be about 5 pounds heavier. And then Dave said, based off the photos that he saw, which, a lot of people haven't seen photos of Andrew jacked, he said, I thought you were going to say 20 pounds bigger. And then Chris said, well, 5 pounds on Andrew because of his structure can look like 20 pounds on another guy,
Yeah.
So, So it sounds like it looks a lot bigger. He might even, who knows, he might be harder than this package. I'm not too sure. But Stan, have you seen any behind the scenes photos of Andrew that we haven't seen?
No, honestly, I haven't seen anything from Andrew. But I know it's going to be good. That's why, I'm not asking for anything. I just want to wait for the reveal,
You're waiting for the reveal,
Yeah.
I was hoping you had some inside info,
No, I haven't asked for anything. I want to see it with everybody. I think it's going to be shocking a lot of people.
Dude,
my
eyes go towards him.
Mm.
I can't help but just look right at Andrew, man. Your eyes just go right to him.
He's got all the fibers. Like, his chest is just like...
Dude, his chest is normal.
Jumps at you, yeah.
Dude.
Like, he actually doesn't need to improve much his physique. If he just improve his posing a little bit, a few poses, whew. But then you add extra muscle and it's money, of course.
It's quite funny when you go pose for pose and then you look at the individual stationary shots of these guys like Hunter and Andrew. I did a episode of like a show called Who Wins and break down, just go pose for pose, where I'm not judging too much else apart from the shots that they're in. And I had Hunter winning more shots in this comparison, the Tampa versus the Andrew Jack from the Arnold Classic. Now I think Andrew's going to be better at this next show, but then still when I'm like, I've got this comparison video up, my eyes are still drawn to Andrew.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know what it is, man. Your eyes just like Hunter looks incredible, but your eyes just drift because you don't see something like that very often.
No, that's the
wherever he is.
Eyes, like if you really look, he's got like an extra like charisma or something, just his structure and the way his muscle just move. You just can't help but look.
Even though at all, that's not normal. That's straight up like action figures. Like it does not look right. It's like not normal.
Yeah.
Like you look
But
the on classic condition there, like look the separation in the chest, the quads. With you that with 5 more pounds. Whew.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. It's gonna be really. I mean, obviously, it's gonna be. You can't really tell until you see them next to each other, but
It's
man, this is
probably
gonna be.
the most exciting show. I mean, for me, it's even more exciting than the Arnold in a sense because there's more time, so the people.
I agree. I agree.
So I'm really looking forward to that show.
well, you think about it as well. You go, okay, well, how does this compare to the Arnold top three wise? And you go, well, okay, there was Samson, there was Nick, and there was Andrew. Now we've
Yeah.
got Andrew in this show where he's top three at the Arnold, and there's many people still not picking Andrew to win this show. So it goes to show the quality of the top three at this lineup. Like
Yeah.
if we saw the top three at the Arnold was Hunter, Andrew, and Carlos in a year's time, it wouldn't be like surprising. So that's how good the
Yeah.
top tier of this Texas Pro really is. So that's
Oh
why
yeah.
it's such an exciting show, and I'm excited to cover it this weekend.
Yeah.
And last year they were right next to each other at the Olympia placing, right? They were 7 and 8.
Yeah, and I think they're both going to be so much better than that as
Yeah.
well. So it's
Oh,
like,
without a doubt. I mean, Hunter's already blown that out of the water.
yeah, and I think bodybuilding needed this sort of show as well, you know, because we've had lineups like Stan, you've been competing heaps, which is awesome to see, and you've added like, thank God you've been in shows, man, because like, had you not done all those shows, it's like some of these comps would have been even smaller, you know, as
Yeah.
well. So it's like, it's just been like we've seen too many lineups of 6 guys, 8 guys, 10 guys, and we haven't seen those really super stacked, 15 guys where it's, the top
Oh yeah.
10 is really good.
Got top 10 Olympians like from last year. Other shows we got some top 10 Olympians, but like those are the recent. The only guys since the Arnold who are competing now is like those 2 guys.
Mm,
There was Ian,
exactly.
but like Mustafa at the one show, he was quick. He was like a top 10. He was up last year, but he's clearly he's been in the mix for the last few years, so he's always, still to be considered. Like, but other than that, none of them competed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've got a bunch of guys sitting out this year, and we'll talk a little bit about I spoke about it on a recent podcast with Sergio and Nathan Diasha, but we'll talk a little bit more about that and what you guys think are some good ideas to maybe help, I suppose, fix the problem. Should we bring back the point system and all that sort of stuff? We'll talk about that soon. But we've got guys sitting out this year as well that can be really good. Like, Martin Fitzwater isn't competing in 2023. No Quentin Araya. A bunch of Rafael Brandeo, who's not competing, who was top 10 in the Olympia last year. So hopefully next year we get, all the guys that are competing this year, plus those guys, plus some other guys making improvements. And yeah, I would love to see some things implemented to get more of these guys competing more often. But we'll have to wait and see if that actually happens or not.
Yeah.
But I'll go to the competitors list of the, I'm just got to find on the IFBB Pro website of the Texas Pro. I'm just going through it, and then I'll share my screen so everyone can see that. I actually noticed the first competitors list that was released, it didn't actually have Andrew Jacked on there, but I don't think people should be worried because he's definitely going to get added to it. Oh, he's on there now anyway. So I will share that screen. And I feel bad because I haven't really looked into the lineup as yet, so there's a few names on there that I don't actually know. But yeah, so people, I'll do a separate preview as well, just myself, where I do my top 10 or top 5 predictions or something. But let me just have a quick look for this, and I'll share my screen. All right, so here's the competitors list for the 2023 Texas Pros. You guys can see on the screen now, so I'll read it out. You got Lewis Breed, Leonardus Cardoza, Roy Evans, Jamil Hamilton, Jordan Hutchinson, Hunter Labrada, Shinadu Andrew Obikia, which is Andrew Jacked, Derek O'Lara, Shuyan Park, Mattia Riolas, Carlos Thomas Jr., and Jonathan Withers. That was a rough competitors list, man, for an American show.
Props are going for it, man.
Stan, you've got one of those names too when it's on the competitors list.
I know how to pronounce names.
Yeah,
Marte Rulas, I think he's a 212 guy.
Which one?
Marte Rulas, the third before last.
Ah, is he? Yeah. I remember there's a guy called Jose Marte who has that same last name spelling, who's like a reasonably aesthetic 212 guy. Is that who you're talking about?
No, the guy is Marte Rulas is I think his nickname is Mighty Mouse or something like that. He's a
Okay.
short guy.
Yeah,
He
it
was
might
at
be,
Chicago. Yeah.
might be a mistake there then, unless he decided to jump in an
Yeah, I
Open
think
Pro
he's
show.
not 212. I think this guy is not 212. But yeah, I mean, just some names that pop out is obviously Hunter and Andrew and Carlos.
Yeah. A few other
Uh,
names that pop out to me, like Lewis Breed, who just got third in that last show, beat out Joel Thomas. He was in pretty damn good shape. I had him in fourth personally, but he does have a lot of muscle, and people said in person he was pretty damn impressive. So I'll bring up some photos of him as well, and then also we've got the pro debut of Jonathan Withers, who probably has the best quads on planet Earth. They're just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you've seen him before, Stan.
That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
I'll show you him. Quads are ridiculous.
Really
Justin, he's got the low Chicago, black toe, Jordan 1. That's dope. Got the premium shirt on?
Here's Jonathan Withers. This is week ago. Some pretty freaky quads. They look a lot like Ben Pekulski's in terms of the shape.
That's good, yeah.
What's that?
I said that's actually a good comparison in comparison to the shape of it.
Yeah, it's wild. And then there's a video of him where he's showing his quads off where they just look so insanely pumped they just don't look real.
Man, those shorts are big. I have those shorts.
Yeah, they're the gasp ones. That's big. It's like they're so
baggy
insane.
as hell on me.
He's pushing those things to the limit.
Yeah. Those are big shorts. Crazy.
I can't wait to see what these look like what these legs look like on stage, on a pro stage, and he's in great shape too, so.
He's good. His upper body is good too.
Sorry?
His upper body is good too. I think it's better than Ben. From just that shot, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. It's definitely behind the rest of his physique, that's for sure. But he's in such great shape that it's like, it's like people have said, he's a bit unbalanced. But it's like, if you made his legs smaller, he's not going to do any better in shows. You know what I mean? Like there is an unbalanced look to the physique. But if his legs matched his upper body in terms of they were smaller, he's going to do worse. So the legs are definitely an asset to his physique. He does still need more on the upper body, but I think he's definitely improved since his when he turned
Brad
pro.
Rowe. Brad Rowe had those crazy legs, but I think you just gotta let go. You know, like if your upper body part grows like that, you gotta let it. You know, take away from it. Like don't train it as much. It's just all the growth from your body. You know.
But yeah, he looks like he's got some like really good peaky biceps as well. When I've seen some front double biceps, he just needs a bit more in the back and the shoulders and a bit more in the chest as well. But if he can bring those up over the years, he's going to end up being a pretty dangerous competitor. But very much looking forward to seeing. Oh, look at his leg here. Like he's obviously very much off season here, but he's still got like striations down here. This is so much muscle.
Maybe he's definitely gonna be in the mix, I believe.
Yeah, so I don't know if he can push for a third or a fourth or something in this show, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll bring up Lewis Breed for those who haven't seen him yet. You guys have seen my screen, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Oh, I know him. I got to meet him and his coach when they were here in Tampa.
Yeah. Here he is on stage with John De La Rosa and Hunter.
He looked really good in Tampa.
Did he got third or he got pushed out?
No, he got
third.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. He wasn't in the first call out at all. So he was first call out of 4 guys, and then which was quite funny because he still placed third just by a couple of points. I think it was at prejudging, but he was hardly compared to some of these other guys. There was like a second call out where they had some of the guys from the first call out minus John and Hunter in that second call out, but obviously enough judges had him in third place there, and then they realized he placed third without being in the first call out, so they did a final 3 call out, or they did a top 3 call out at finals, so they switched it around a little bit. But I do like how these guys can work their way up, because I know like some guys, you know, if you miss out on a first call out, the head goes down, they get a bit down on themselves, and it's cool to be able to see actually guys work their way up. I remember Gustavo Bedell in one of the Olympias once. I think he was third call out, but then he placed third in the whole show.
Dude, it happened to me. My second Classic Physique Show.
Oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. You can hear me?
I can't hear you at all.
No?
Logan, can you hear me? This happened to me last show. I'm just going to quickly leave and then jump back in, but you guys can keep talking. I'll literally be 20 seconds.
You hear me, Logan?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I muted it or something.
No, I was saying, like, it happened to me. My second show in Classic Physique, it was in San Diego. I was in the last call out, and it kind of like, oh, they missed me, you know, they overlooked me.
Yeah.
They brought me with the third call out, and then the second call out, and then the first call out. I got second place.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild. See, but that just shows you. Oh, you back?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that just shows you though that you don't stop up there. Like,
Yeah,
you continue to like pose and like, because it shows you that they will continue to look.
Yeah. Like Derek Elgindi was telling that story every time after that, you know, like to everybody, it's like, don't get discouraged, don't get the first stroke.
Yeah.
We're going to go to everybody. So if we missed you in the first time, we'll bring you back if needed to, you know, if you deserve to.
I always say as well, like when I first like made a like come back to bodybuilding, like it was 2014. I hadn't competed in like 3-4 years or something, and then I wasn't even first call out of like it was back then when Classic was pretty new, and they did just did it all in one class. So I think there's 14 guys or something in the lineup, and that was basically the overall. And it was like a national level show, so I was like, oh, okay, there's gonna be some good guys there, and I saw some good guys backstage. And then they did a top 7 call out, and I wasn't in it. And I was just like, I ended up just putting my hands on my hips and just looked down at myself. I'm like, I must look fucking awful. And you know, you had people before the show be like, "Oh, you can win it," and yeah, you're gonna win. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "This is so fucking embarrassing." and then I see the judges pointing at a guy on the stage and then pointing at me, and I'm like, "Huh?" Like, okay. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, what's name? Stand back in lineup. Number whatever number I was. Step forward." And that guy was standing in the middle, so I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I'm like, oh, at least I'm top 7. And then I ended up winning it. So I was like, fuck, like, it's so easy to get down on yourself when you're on stage if you don't get the call-outs. Like, I completely understand it.
Always stay in the game.
Yeah.
You never...
Sorry,
when you see someone that's like, they're doing the first call-out, so they go like all excited, and they pose, and then they fade or whatever, so then they got, you know, they have to stay. Everybody's like back in line, but you stay, and like they bring the second call out guys, and now you're battling your way through them, and you can see, like the face kind of like, oh shit, you know, I'm not, you know.
I see the whole demeanor start to change.
Yeah, completely. It's like, no, keep fighting, you know, like you were in the mix, so you were.
The judges see that. People don't realize you can see. If we can see it, the judges clear as day can see it,
and that changed the whole thing. Like if you're not confident in yourself, it changed the whole, like, man, just the way, like, if you look Nick when he walked on stage, the confidence that, you know, Hadi, those guys is just like, they know they got it, they know they nailed it, you know. Derek, there, you wait, he knows, like,
100%,
you know, got it. And like when you know everybody
that's probably part of what Andrew Jack has going for him as well, because even though he doesn't pose the best, like, you know, you can say, oh, his transitions aren't the best, he doesn't pose the best and things like that, but he has something about him that draws your eye to him on stage, and it's probably just that level of confidence he has in himself, I reckon.
Huge charisma, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, charismatic. Like, sometimes you just can't even put your finger on it, and it's just like, this guy's charismatic.
It's like, hey, take your camera.
I was about to say that. You see him doing this.
I got some crazy shit to show you guys, you know.
I mean, he's not naive to the fact that he looks insane.
Yeah.
So he knows, all right, these shots are gonna get it. Let me tell you to be ready. Like, you don't not even do that very often.
He does, like, nobody's ever done stuff like, I don't remember anybody doing that. But like, he's not even in a cocky or arrogant way. Like, he's, you know, he's a very humble guy. So that's so dope, just to like see that confidence without.
Yeah, sure. I just want to feature one more guy on the screen as well. I'll just quickly share my screen because I didn't mention him last time, or I forgot to get any screen captures of him on my live. So I'll just quickly share my screen because I think he placed about 6th at Tampa, I think it was, or yeah, Tampa, I'm pretty sure. I've got a million pages open. Hold up 1 second. So Roy Evans, who I think brought his all-time best, and he's a
Mhm.
really tall guy as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, he won't be a factor in terms of the top three or anything in this show, but if he's able to get a little bit more crisp than this, he's a really tall guy, has a big stature. I don't know. Does he have colored contacts in there?
I don't think so. I met him. I know his girlfriend, so I met him at the show. I'm pretty sure those are his eyes.
He's got blue eyes.
Like, no, I don't know if they're just blue. They are I don't. I think they're a mix of different colors, but man, they are a wild color.
Yeah, that's wild looking.
Like, I'm pretty sure those are his real eyes. I think.
Feel he has some crazy like green, blue. He could have similar. I don't know. I can't see his eyes. My screen is too small.
Yeah, when you see it, go look at his profile. He's got some crazy eyes. Anyway, that's pretty much most of the top competitors from the Open at the Texas Pro. I just want to quickly go over 212. I'll message Keone as well, see if he can jump in. But we do have Noel Adame, who's a really good 212 competitor that's doing that show. He went to do a show earlier in the year, but he didn't make weight. And there's an open show there, but he just chose not to do it, which I found incredibly strange.
No, I wonder why.
Because he would have done well. He's a good bodybuilder. And if he's like, 6
Yo.
pounds over and he's shredded.
I mean, for him, Noel carries a lot of size for 212, man.
What happened to Stan?
I don't know. The screen just went blank.
Stan, we can't see you if you can hear us. He's back.
Oh, I know what happened. Yeah, technical difficulties, everybody.
His electricals were smoking. Anyway, I'll bring up Noel Adame.
No, I mean, he carries a lot of size for 212. So I mean, I think it would have done pretty well if he would have at least tried it.
I can't remember which open show it was, but I remember it wasn't the most stacked show. I'm like, he could have got top 3.
I mean, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was New York. It was New York, wasn't it? So you had Tonio, you had Ross. Was Ross in that one?
No,
Beef Stew.
No, it's Stew. Yeah.
Yeah, outside of that, I think he would have probably placed third.
Dude, I think
who knows? He could have challenged.
He would have compared so well with Tonio.
Very well. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know why he wouldn't. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, very strange decision. And this was 66 weeks ago.
Like, I'm a 212er, like.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he didn't have that mindset, but I mean, you never know.
Yeah. This guy is him in Mexico in person. He's a big dude.
Like I'm saying, he's big. I saw him in Tampa before, and he's big.
Now I know of a few names in this lineup, but it's hard to keep across all the competitors. But obviously, Keone is the other name that really sticks out in this one. I don't know if you guys can see anyone that you think's like a contender here.
Yeah, Francisco. I don't know how they're going to compare, but Francisco Barrio VLK, he's a friend of mine. He's actually from Argentina, but he lives in Brazil. He's got he's with Patrick. He's thick. He's got a lot of muscle on his frame. He's going to come in good condition with Patrick, I would assume. I'm pretty sure. I mean, when you do this.
This guy. Yeah, I'll follow him. Yeah, he's very, very dense and round. He's got a very nice physique. He's got some good wheels too.
I've been waiting to see him step on stage.
Yeah, he did last year his pro debut in Brazil with me, but he did the 212 part.
Yeah.
He was supposed to do a show in Argentina in his own country, but he had to pull out last minute. Like,
I've been waiting to see him step back on stage. Okay, I didn't recognize the name at first.
Yeah, me either. So this was, how long ago was this? This was 5th of August. So yeah, he looks good, man. He's very sharp. Yeah,
no, he's gonna be sharp. Like, I'm excited to see how he compares. I think he's gonna do well here. He's got a lot of muscle. Doesn't really miss anybody part,
It's quite funny. In a t-shirt, he doesn't look like huge here, but then you see him pose, and it's like he's just got so much density.
Yeah.
And those really grainy, shredded look to his shoulders here, which I love to see.
Yeah.
And it fits really well for his frame too. Everything sits really well, like Stan said. It's just pretty much not really missing anything.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him up on stage for sure. He's definitely going to be probably a guy up there in that top
Gonna
5
be
for sure.
He brings a lot of energy on stage too. So I hope
Yeah.
he's in the first call out just to see him battle. Like his energy is really hard to match.
Yeah, cool.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
can't
that's
wait for
gonna be
this.
interesting to see.
Mm.
I'll be covering all the classes as well, and it's it's quite inconvenient because I'm doing a live because there's a day 1 and day 2 show. So you got the 212 and the classic on day 1,
Oh,
and
is it?
then yeah. So it's going to be
What
like, sorry,
What day is the 212 in the classic? Friday?
that's on the Friday, yeah, and then on the Saturday
Oh.
you've got the open. There's open and one other division on the Saturday, and then on the Friday you've got the classic 212, and then there's like 3 divisions between them. So I'm going to be live for ages. I'm going to be live for like 2 hours for the prejudging and probably 2 hours on the finals, which is like middle of the night my time, but I've sort of already committed to it, so I might, I don't want to miss it either. So I'm like, I'm going to be going live for probably about 7 hours this weekend. So everyone make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell button.
Right.
Jump in there, keep me company.
We'll jump in when you got to.
Yes.
I was
Yes,
just about
jump
to
in.
ask. I'm like, yeah, like, we can just jump in there, man.
Okay, thank you, save me. Because while there's while the wellness, bikini, and men's physique are on, I think they're like the 3 classes between the classic and the 212. We can just jump on there and break down classic and just talk shit. So that'd be
Well,
good.
Saturday, off day or two, so I have a lot of time. But Friday, I could jump in here and there. I'd like to see like what's on. Yeah,
Yeah, hell
Just
yeah.
just check the schedule and yeah, I'm down.
Awesome, cool. That would be fun. Even if you jump in for a little bit, it will just keep me from only answering the listener questions, but we can answer them all together. We can have fun. And we can also, on that Friday as well, we'll probably bring up some, last minute photos, hopefully, of maybe like Hunter and these other guys that are competing in the Open too, so we can sort of preview it a little bit more with some last minute updates.
Yeah.
But yeah, Keone, obviously, we've seen his updates throughout this prep. He's looking crazy. Like the legs look like they're improving as well. The lines are out in the legs. Like there's probably certain parts of his body which aren't going to be as shredded as others, but he looks like he's bringing the conditioning the best he's ever brought it. He's going to be the most muscular he's ever been. So
Yeah.
it's safe to say we're going to see the best ever Keone, I think. So yeah, he's looking really good.
The minute Keone nails it, that's it. I'm just saying, he has it. I'm like,
He's gonna look so 90s, like
I just like for like, especially for 212, like the minute he nails it, that's it. I just don't know who can touch him in 212 with his size, his structure, his shape, his posing.
he still got 8 pounds to grow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And this, like I said, what you said, his lowest was what, 206? Like that's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Like that's just. Nah, it's just gonna be lights out, man. Once he nails it, and then he still has more time to grow. It's gonna be Chris Bumstead situation, where it's like he's just gonna have more time to grow once he feels he can nail it. I think that's just what I believe. That's just what I think when I see him.
Yeah, I think he's gonna start messing with the open shows too.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Derek and I mean, obviously you got the whole pass with Hadi and Derek doing so well.
Damn, that is actually that's a really good point too.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, he wants to move to open eventually, so he's not stopping, And Patrick Tour said Keone was concerned during his prep because his weight just wasn't going down, and some weeks it went up. And it's like the dude's just adding muscle. He wants to grow.
Bro,
he's heavier than last time and sharper.
Like he started prep, I think it was 220. He went down to like 215 or so, right, pretty within the first week, and then it only went down to like he was always 208, 209 or so, like between 208 210, and then like he did like a hard training back day, weeks out, didn't drink enough water, his weight shot up, like back to like something, and then and now I don't know, he went down to a 6, I guess, but like it's just I don't know, his body wants to grow even like on 0 calorie, 0 carbs.
Literally, I mean, it's funny though because that's something that we actually experienced with my prep too. Is like every time like we would like try to like keep it down, we had to like truly like in order to start. That's what we realized. If we really want to get conditioned for classic, we're gonna have to like truly go at it because my body wants to grow, in the middle of it. Like from the start of my prep till now, we put on like 2 pounds of solid muscle just in the middle of the prep.
Yeah.
So it's like I definitely get it. Like that's a beautiful thing that you want to have, of course. And that's how you know everything's going in the right direction, though.
But that's the thing with him. Like a lot of people don't believe him or whatever. But like he did the Olympia in classic natural or like on just orals and shit. You know?
Yeah, which is I mean insane. It's like that's like the man's gifted.
So yeah, exactly. So now he's been using gear for what 3-4 years. You know, he's barely just right now. And
I was just about to say he's barely even scratched the surface. Yeah. Well, he's not even 30 yet. How old is he? Like 26?
28, 29, I think, maybe.
Like he's okay, yeah. So he's like, man.
Yeah.
That's wild. It is wild.
Like, Sean, like I think Sean is 42. Florida.
Is he?
41,
yeah.
For sure, at least 41.
Dude. Okay.
So
yeah.
After that, you know, he's got maybe 2-3 years in, you know, I don't know. But then it's like wide open, 10 years ahead.
Literally wide open, yeah.
Unless someone shows up, you know, but like.
But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I do believe that bodybuilding altogether is starting to really make a positive turn in 212 and in open.
Yeah, it's only really the competitive season, mostly in the US, that is not, I'd say, has not been positive. That's the only thing. But on an Olympia level, you look at the standard, man. It's like 212 obviously had all those top guys go out with like Flex Lewis, Jose Raymond, Eduardo Correa's. You know, he's not there this year. He's had a few injuries and whatnot. David Henry, Hidetani Yamagishi. They had a whole bunch of guys going out sort of within a couple of years. So that was always going to be a hit on the division. But now you've got Keone in there. You've got Sean Clarita, who's really come up and filled in that winner's spot. You've got a few other guys coming up, Noel Adame, like who's doing this show. You've got Angel Calder on. And then you've got, you know, Aaron Pilates is going to be coming back, who's on this podcast a bit. He's a top 10 212 Olympian back when he was right behind. I think he's maybe one spot behind Eduardo Correa, one spot ahead of Angel Calderon, just behind, I think Hide was maybe in there as well. And, you know, you can definitely make a case for Aaron beating those guys and also Angel beating those guys potentially too. But I think they had that respect level and they're always going to be compared to a certain extent. So there is talent coming through. It's just a matter of, you know, these things go in ebbs and flows. And it's like, sometimes you're not going to have all of us really good guys at once. You might have a couple down years, but then it seems like it's coming back up a bit at least anyway.
Yeah.
And in the open at the Olympia, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like you go back to what, 4 years ago where the Olympia lineup was a little bit scarce, you know?
Yeah.
And then you look at it now and it's like, wow, we've had a lot of good talent come in. Like look who's there now that wasn't there before. You got Crizzo, Andrew Jack, all these guys, you know, it's like they weren't even thought about then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the crazy thing to think about is like you said, you take it back 3 or 4 years ago, you knew who was going to be in the top 5. You knew. Like, it was the same top 5 for so many years in a row. But now it's like we can pretty much say who's top 5, but it's like that top 10 now is very interesting. For the first time in a long time, that top 10 can swap so many different ways that it's wild. It's hard to pick a top 10.
Oh, yeah. And when you pick a top 5 as well, you know if every single guy watches it, there's going to be about 5 guys offended that they're not in there. So, like, me predicting, like, it's the first time I'm really going to be predicting an Olympia where I'm like, because, like, you know, you think about Brandon Curry, for example. Brandon Curry was 4th last year, but he missed his conditioning. But his fullness was back, and people don't really talk about it too much because we don't hear too much from Brandon. But if he nails his conditioning this year, where could he end up? You know what I mean? Like,
well, and that's another thing I'm about to say, though. Like, that top 10, if any of these guys nail it, that top 5 could change immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So
like,
just guessing.
So, yeah, exactly. No one knows. And, like, if all of them come in, like, on the money, that it can get very, very, very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be so exciting. But let's do a few predictions for the Texas Pro. I'll bring back up that competitors list.
I'm not going first. I will say that right now.
I'll go first. Mine are pretty established. I'll go first.
Me too.
All right, so let me
I'm
bring
the
it
only
up.
one that's not.
Okay, so my main, like, I want to predict Carlos Thomas Jr. to win because I would love to see it, and plus, imagine the hype around Carlos, and it would make my content more interesting. So that's what I want from just a content perspective. And then it's like, is Andrew Jack going to do another show? Will he miss the Olympia this year? You know, it'd be a whole thing to talk about. But I don't think that will happen because I think his conditioning might not quite be to the level of these other guys, and just the actual density and graininess of the muscle I think will be a little bit more from Hunter and Andrew Jacked. But I would love to see it, and I believe in Carlos so much for the future. Like, honestly, I think he could definitely be a Mr. Olympia champion. So that being said, prefacing it heavily, I'm going to put in first place. I'm going to say, honestly, I still don't even know. I'm just going to say Hunter because that would probably make it interesting to see what Andrew would do after that. Although I do want to see Andrew in the Olympia. So I'm going to say Hunter in first, Andrew in second. In third, I'll say Carlos Thomas Jr. In fourth, I'm going to say. In fourth, I'm going to say Lewis Breed. And then in fifth, I'll say Jonathan Withers. But those two really are like, I'm flipping a coin in my head. So that's my top five.
Me, I would go ahead with Andrew. Andrew in first, Hunter in second, Carlos in third, John, and probably Louis Breed in fourth, and then Jonathan in fifth.
Yeah. So we got the same, just Hunter and Hunter and Andrew switched around.
See,
What's yours, Logan?
Mine's the exact same as Stan's, but I have Jonathan, and I don't know. I got a guy to pronounce his name, but I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna butcher his name.
Whose name?
Louis Breed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do I pronounce it? I have Jonathan coming in fourth.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. They're all pretty good predictions. I can see it playing out of any one of those three different ways. So it's just tough in terms of where you put those top two. Really, if you think that Carlos Thomas Jr. won't be peeled, but honestly, like, you never know. Like, if Carlos is able to, like you said, Stan, if he changes those last minute preps and pulls out the water, it's like we could see something absolutely crazy. Because that guest posing alone, man, that was so freaky. Oh yeah, that was on stage too.
Yeah, and Sean, he used to hold a lot of water. Like, he would lose so much weight the last week. So you can never judge.
Well, that's actually a very good point, because I do remember, I remember leading up into the Olympia when Sean Roden was getting ready for it. He was like two weeks out, a week out, and he doesn't look ready. He's not gonna be ready. He comes out and steps on stage like a week and a half later, peeled out of his mind.
It was when we checked in Vegas. I think he was like 265 or so. Like, you can see, we know he's in great shape for Sean at that point. But most people would be like, he's showing a 1 week out like this, And then in 1 week, there's still difference. He was 238 the morning of prejudging.
Dude, that's insane that happened.
Just sucked in, just the air in Vegas just dried him out. Like,
that is insane, dude. Like, it's crazy.
Dude, the funny thing was, I don't know if you remember, Stan, if you remember Michael Galley, who came over with, his name's Michael Galley. He came over with Charles Lothian. Yeah. Yep. And I remember he called me after that, after he saw both of you guys posing and everything, and you were doing a Classic Physique Olympia at that stage. And I said, how did Sean look? And he said, yeah, no, he looked good. And I was like, not convinced, And then he said, do you know who really fucking impressed me, though? Stan. He looks fucking crazy. You should have seen his condition. He was like raving about how you looked. And he's like, yeah, Sean looks good. And then Sean goes on to win the Olympia, looks the best he's ever looked. So it goes to show how much Sean improves. And even after that, when I spoke to him, he said, oh, I did not think he was going to look like that on stage. Like, he looked absolutely wild. He just evolved in that last couple of weeks or however long it was before the Olympia. So it goes to show.
It was not someone really dry naturally. He would hold a lot of water always,
Yeah. But even I remember seeing in that prep, it was like one time I saw him posing in a singlet in the gym, and he's hitting like a crab most muscular. And I was like, like, Sean looks good. He looks good. Like, he looks like an Olympian.
Yeah. Everybody was like that. That's the feedback we got. Everybody was like, he's too small, too old, too not ready enough, you know. And we were like so excited because we were like, this is the best Sean ever coming. Like people have no idea.
Mm.
And,
The crazy thing is as well, Sean after that, like obviously when he was held out from competing and all that sort of stuff, I remember he like sort of dieted down for the Olympia a bit and he was hitting some like front double biceps and stuff. I think poolside at the Olympia. He was actually looking crazy then, man. Like I think like had obviously, he'd been able to compete, I think we would have seen an even better Sean.
we did
Like,
the prep, the 2019 prep. We did it together. So until like the week of, he was hoping they would let him go on stage. It was like, if I show up, blah blah blah, you know, the way I'm supposed to, hopefully they'll let me. And he went through the whole prep.
wow, that's crazy. Yeah, because I remember seeing those photos. I'm like, dude looks crazy. It looks like he's like prepped or at least done a semi-prep for the Olympia. Because how do you look like that without doing it? And I remember seeing him in Australia and stuff, man. And I asked him, because he came into the gym I was personal training at, and he came in and signed the wall and all that sort of stuff. So I went there to let him in and everything. And I said, oh, you been training out here? He's like, no, man. He's like, I haven't been training. And I'm just like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, fuck that shit. Like after it, because this is after Olympia. And then I was actually because Aaron and Sean used to talk a fair bit as well back then. And I'm like, oh, can you record something to send to Aaron? And then I remember his message, man. I hope I've still got it on my phone somewhere. I'll try to find it and send it to you. And because Sean, I think at the time was a bit like used to talk to Aaron a bit about like deadlifting and stuff. And he's like, oh, it's like don't do that, man. And he's like, he records a message. He's like, what's up, Aaron? He's like, I don't know what you're doing out there with all that deadlift and shit. And just sort of just talk shit to him. And I sent it to Aaron, and he's like, it's funny as. So yeah, Sean was cool, man. I remember him, just super relaxed dude, and yeah, he's obviously goes down as a legend in the sport. It's just a shame that he didn't get to be able to show it more and everything, and be able to do what he loves. But yeah, we'll remember that, and his demeanor and everything like that. But yeah, anyway, that's our predictions for the Texas Pro as we digressed a ton. I don't even know how we got onto all that, but but that's our predictions for that. And I'm assuming everyone's predicting Keone to win the 212, or does anyone have Noel?
I just can't see it going in the other direction, to be honest with you. I just can't.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I mean,
yeah,
even Keone's 90% beats majority of most people.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And we're about to get a different Keone, so like, I think I just don't see it going any other way.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
I mean, there's nothing against any of the other guys, but it's just
yeah. You're up against like a Flex Wheeler type like structure.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, Flex is doing it. Who's coming in second? Like,
yeah.
I hate to say it, but you gotta be realistic.
Yeah, unless there's some sort of muck up with his peak or something like that.
I'm about to say, unless something truly dramatic happens, but
yeah, exactly. So yeah, Noel in second for me, Keone in first, and I'm assuming you guys are all going the same way. But I want to discuss something before we wrap this show up. And Matt, I talked about it, as I mentioned at the start of the episode, with Sergio and also Nathan Diasha on a recent episode of Bodybuilding University, which came out, I think, 3 days ago. And we discussed how to fix open pro bodybuilding. And I mentioned to you guys, I had the idea that if there was $250,000 put into a pool, or 300,000, whatever the number is, I think we could make bodybuilding so much better based off that alone. Now we want to see more prize money show to show and all that sort of stuff. And that could be something implemented as well, where there's at least a $15,000 minimum or a $20,000 or something like that for the open guys. And not saying the other divisions like 212 and stuff shouldn't have more money as well. But obviously, saying all the prize money in every show should be double is probably a big ask in one hit. But the idea I had was basically having like a tiered system or like a point system, like how we used to have for qualifications, and we could always bring that back as well. But where you have, for first place, and just say, first place in each show, we have 25 points for every show of the year. Second place, like either 10 to 15, then maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever for third. So there's guys that are placing that top 5 that have incentive to do multiple shows because they can end the year in top 10 in this point standing and earn themselves a bit extra money and maybe a bit more notoriety as well. So first place at the end of the year would be, just say, $100,000 win. Second place would be 50. Then third place maybe 30. Then 20, 10, 8, whatever, as it goes down. But just say there's $250,000 or 300,000 put into that, which sounds like a lot of money, but in the whole IFB, we know the sanction fees and everything like that are quite expensive. There's more shows at the moment. So I think there's the ability for that to be able to be done by the IFB. They could get a sponsor for it. I'm sure someone, like a big supplement company could sponsor and put a bit into it. And, each award could be, you've won for example, the Muscle Tech, points tournament or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, I said Muscle Tech, BSN, whoever. But yeah, we could do something like that because I'm sure a company would be happy to at least pony up some money, whether it's 50 grand and it can be covered, And I think this would get guys like, just say, for example, I've thought about it, like an Ian Valier. So he competes and does that show, and he could go, okay, well, I'm going to hit 2 more shows, and that would give me 75 points total, and that could either put me first or second in this point standing, win me either 50 grand or 100 grand extra, plus I'll win 10,000 or 15,000 from each other show. So I'm going to walk away with maybe $100,000 from doing these 3 pro shows this year and the Olympia, whatever he wins at the Olympia. Okay, I've walked away with 120 grand prize money rather than, walking away with 40 for the year or whatever, So it could really incentivize guys instead of, doing a one and done. They might go, well, if I win 2 pro shows, maybe I just get in that top 10 as well, So we've got more guys that are, Olympia qualified already, deciding to do more shows. And then maybe for the Olympia qualifications, we even do a bump system, which Bob Ciccarello suggested. So if the top guy is qualified but wins a show, the guy who plays seconds qualifies. Or we could go back to a point system, like one or the other. But I just think this sort of system would undoubtedly get guys competing more. And instead of guys maybe taking the year off, they go, maybe at the end of the year, I'll hit 3 shows, like a Martin Fitzwater, who might decide to do that because he was actually saying to me, maybe I'll do some shows at the end of the year of 2023. Maybe he would then say, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then I'll hit the Arnold next year and not just decide to sit up the full year because he can actually earn some money. So I'll go to you first, Dan. What do you think about that sort of system? And do you have any other ideas to get guys competing more and more of these top guys competing more?
I think it's a good idea. The most obvious one is to incentivize, just give more money, like prize money, obviously. Right away, with the Arnold Classic, we saw what happened when they raised it, went from 6 guys doing it to like everybody wants in.
Yep.
So obviously money can bring more people, but yeah, I think that's this point system. People compete more often is good. I think we can find money for that also. Just the only problem with that is then we talked before off camera before we recorded then when you have a winner at a show, instead of getting the qualification should be handed to the first person who's not qualified. Because if you have 2-3 guys who already qualified, first, second, third, fourth, then the 5th place guy basically deserved that ticket,
Yeah.
So getting the prize money, and I think it should be next in line that invite. So each show one qualification for the highest non-qualified athlete in the ranking.
Yeah, and I think as well, I think too, if you make it so it's like that, so there's guys can do multiple shows and you'd obviously if guys were winning shows and winning multiple shows in a year, and you bump it down to the next guy, and also you increase prize money at these shows, it might which we don't want to do. We don't want to turn off too many promoters, but there is probably too many shows at the moment too, just a couple too many. So just say 3 people dropped off if they said, we're going to increase the prize money that you have to pay out to $15,000 or more. Maybe 3 promoters pop out for the year for the open class, which won't be a bad thing because then you're condensing down the schedule as well. So these shows will hopefully be, more guys in them, and we're still getting a qualifier out of each. And if you have 3 or 4 less shows, there's less guys qualifying for the Olympia, which we don't want to get a situation where we've got 30-something guys qualified again next year. We don't want to get back to that stage because, one, the Olympia has to fit the bill for it, which ends up starting to cost a lot. And then you also don't want 400-something. I don't think you want 450 or 500 competitors qualified for the Olympia because it dilutes it.
If you have the 5 guys from last year, the top 5, right? And then you have 15 shows, even like 12 shows once a month. But let's say like 15 shows, so 15 more people, 20 people total in the show. That's a good amount of shows, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, man. I agree 100%. But I think this year we've had more than 15 shows. I think it's going to be something like, because if you look at the qualified list now, I think it's
Not in open.
Not in open?
I don't think so. It's not that many.
I'm pretty sure. I think so. Because I think there's still like another, because we've got, in terms of qualifiers, we've still got Texas this weekend. We've got the European Championships, the Italy show, Legion.
Yeah. Legion is the last.
Yeah, Legion's the last qualifier. So I think we've still got 4 or 5 qualifiers for the Open. Oh, we've got Masters Olympia too, if the winner of that's, because he qualifies as well. So we've got at least 5 more at least 5 more qualifiers. And I think there's at least, I don't know how many he's qualified now. I'll look it up. But I know there's at least 15.
Well, there's Tampa, Chicago, Vancouver, Orlando,
Brazil.
Then there was in Europe, so Roman.
One Crizo one.
And so Crizo. That's 8.
I'll look the
Arnold, and last year also Brett, so that's 2 more.
I'll count up how many we've got qualified now in the Open. So right now,
it's right around that number.
We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we've got 18 qualified now.
Where's the Master Olympia?
Yeah, so we've got 5 more potentially. So up to 23 guys. We've got to line up. Which it's not too bad. Like, I don't think that's too bad. 30 was too many. Like, it was just too many, because it got down to like, most people care about the first, 4 or 5 call outs, maybe, like hardcore fans. And then after that, like once you get to those last 2, people start to switch off a little bit, which I honestly, man, I'm a hardcore fan. So I even look at those last call outs and get excited. So I'm like that, but I know most people aren't, like most people are looking at the top 10, max. And especially when you're at the event as well. I remember actually it was very different when I was at the Olympia. You focus so much more on the top guys because you're wanting to see something epic. Like when I went in 2014, 2016, something like that. It was whenever Kai Green flicked his hair in Phil Heath's face. And I was excited by that because I'm like, oh, this is epic. But to me, being at the venue, it felt very much like Phil was going to win. Kai was going to be second. Neither was at their all-time best. They both were good, but not at their all-time best. So I was like, oh, well, I'm not seeing anything epic in terms of that. And you're sort of looking at that top 5 battle mostly. You're not looking at the other guys as much when you're there in person. But online, though, for the people at home, which is a majority of the people, I'd still do care about those later call-outs in the top 10 and the top 15.
They're going to compare the first top 10 too.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't think 23 is a bad number if it ends up being 23. And if Phil Kahar wins Masters Olympia, then it's 22. So I don't mind that.
You think he's the favorite to win the Masters?
What's that?
Do you think Phil's your favorite to win the Masters?
There's a few guys doing it that I was like, there's someone else doing it that I thought was actually pretty good as well, but I can't quite remember off the top of my head now. But Josh Lenardowitz is meant to be doing it, but no one has heard a thing from him. Yeah, like I've messaged him as heaps people would have. I don't know what's going on there. So hopefully he just like is doing like an underground thing and just shows up out of nowhere and wins it. I would love that. That dude's been through a lot. Oh, Stan's gone. That dude's been through a lot the last few years. I'd love to see it, man.
It would be really cool to see him come back.
Yeah, super nice guy as well. So I hope he is able to come back and get. Oh, Stan's gone. His phone might have died. But yeah, Logan, do you have any other ideas in terms of like how to? Oh wait, he's back. Do you have any other ideas about how we can improve? Maybe not even open bodybuilding, but the 212s as well during the competitive season, because the Olympia is really good already.
I mean, I just think it's like Stan said. Overall, just increase the prize money. I mean, I understand it takes a lot to and costs a lot to promote a show and put on a show, but man, I'm just saying, at Tampa alone, they charged for pre-judging. They charged for, you had to pay separately to see each individual person.
Yeah.
And the tickets are not cheap. One of my buddies paid $400 alone on tickets just to see. So it's like, I'm sorry, but man, you guys are making enough money at these shows. Stop pocketing as much as you're pocketing and start giving back to the bodybuilders, like you say you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't know the
And look,
exact number, but like for example, I did Orlando, and there was no live stream, and I think that's a missed opportunity. Especially
Yeah.
like if you spend money as an athlete to compete, you want to have the video, you want to be seen, you want that that's at least if you're not getting a win, like the exposure from being in that mix, you still want to be seen, have some content, some people can watch, like you want to get in front of people. So that's where I think there's a lot that can be done. It's more like on the promotion end. And I think like it'd be cool, like having that championship idea, like kind of like if you do several shows, like the top guys at the end of the year who won most shows, they get extra bonuses and stuff. I think that would be great. I think what needs to happen too is just having maybe the Olympia set that up, or someone just doing like a big, like a media company that follows the athlete and hype it up, from the behind the scenes and stuff, like
that is
travel,
true.
like kind of like the UFC, like behind the scene of the fight, the leading up to the
promoting
fight.
it so much better. They could do a lot more for promoting these shows a lot, especially with the day and age of Instagram and TikTok.
And
I feel like if someone did it right, like they just put the cast and send some to at least the top 5, top 10 guys at the Olympia, just to follow through during season where they at. So then you get like some exchange between the guys. It would could just create another dynamic to the
and they don't need to overcomplicate it. Like with the Mr. Olympia, they're getting a lot better at this. They're doing more of the media stuff through their channel, and you got Tarek Gilgindi and the guys over there, and I credit those guys for actually, Jake Woods actually put a lot of money into it. Like,
that's awesome.
The studios and everything, and I think that's great. And I think something could be done in terms of like for me, like there is an IFB official page I know on IG. But are you guys seeing, promotional posters being posted of every event? Are you seeing the competitors list being posted on there? We go to these off-brand ones, Bodybuilders Without Borders. We go to all these other pages, which are just run by individual dudes that could be working for the federation and getting paid a salary, and it would be so worth it,
Another thing I think about, though, if you look about who do we go to for these pictures and videos now? Gilco Productions. We go to Will, we go to all these other people because we're like, we want to see those quality videos. They're taking these top-notch quality. Like Gilco Productions, his videos, like that's like damn near like seeing it in person.
Yeah.
That's how
good
it is. Like you said, they could easily be hired by the IFBB and boom, right there. Like that is huge promotion for the IFBB. Seeing those crisp, clear pictures like that wants everyone to work with those photographers. They want everyone to use, like, you could use that, and that alone could get exposure right there just because it looks better. It's not choppy, it's not blurry. Like that alone would help with promotion for people wanting to do these shows.
Oh, unbelievably. And if you said, like, Stan, and Logan as well, if you had someone that, like a promoter that came to you and said, hey, we're putting on this show next year, we're going to promote you guys so hard. We're going to push out. We're going to have their promotional posters. We're going to do this. We're going to send someone out to video you. We're going to have video of the athletes meeting. We're going to do a webcast of a press conference that goes for half an hour before the show. We're going to have Gilco at the show. We're going to have this. We're going to have a webcast that's going to be high quality. If you had a promoter come and tell you all this stuff to incentivize you to come and do the show, you're probably going to pick that show over another random show that it's up on the contest calendar that you don't even get a message from. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's the whole approach to shows that need to change and kind of have people kind of pick their shows like a year in advance or something. So then the promoters know, oh, these guys, the two guys they're gonna build the show around those two guys. And if someone show up, the judges is fair now. So if someone show up, and just shock it all, they're going to go for that guy. But like if you build a hype over a battle or 3 guys or something, and you just shoot like content back and forth, 6 months out, the off season deep, like, what the guy is thinking, what he's doing, like I think that would be more fun. Like people be like hyped up,
Yeah.
And then you got other guys that are newer to the league and stuff. They're gonna jump on the show and they make their names by like dropping those headliners and placing ahead of them.
Yeah,
exactly. And the thing is as well, like if we used to release a competitors list earlier for the contest, right? Now they come 5 days out from a show, which is annoying because you want to talk about it a few weeks out as well. And it's like, well, I think this guy's doing it. Well, we know the top three or these two guys are in it, but you don't know for sure who else is doing it. And it makes it harder. Like this Texas Pro, it's like it would have been fun to like, yeah, we knew these three guys were doing it. But there's other shows that have come up where, oh, this guy's on the list. Like John Dolores is randomly on the list. This guy, it's like we need more of this. It's frustrating as media to then, want to do a preview a week out from a show and we can't. Because
if I had a show, I would hire Machiavelli and try to find at least two two people with a rivalry or something, and trying to get them to commit to my show and be like, dude, I'm gonna shoot a ton of video. Machiavelli is gonna hype you up, put stuff, like make some motivational videos, like you going up against this guy and stuff all year. And I mean, I bet you everybody wants to do my show next year, especially if I make money out of it, and then I can offer more money to the athletes,
And you know what? You're going to sell more pay-per-views, especially if these guys have big followings, Look at Sergio Oliva Jr., and Urs and all these guys. Like you, Stan, you got a pretty big following as well. But you look at Sergio, 650,000 followers. You got Urs, you got 1 million followers. You got Nick Walker. Like obviously these guys might be harder to do other shows outside of the Olympia, but you got all these guys that have big followings. Andrew Jack has a huge following. Why not monetize that, especially if you have the money and you're putting so much into putting a show on already? Prize money, sanction fees, venues, all that sort of stuff. You've got so much on the line already. What's an extra $15,000 going to be? And you might sell that amount extra in pay-per-views, and it builds your show up for future years. You know what I mean?
I would have to get the exact numbers because it's hard to I don't have the experience to know what costs exactly and stuff. But I feel like if renting a big venue, paying the sanction fee, which I think it's at least $25,000 for a pro show. So all this stuff is gonna be a big budget, but if you actually put the extra budget in marketing behind it, I think that's when you're gonna start seeing the return. Because you have a nice live stream, 4K, and people a hyped up battle, 6 months ahead. Everything can happen. Someone can get injured, someone pull out. You can change the narrative, but if you have something locked in, at least a year in advance. I mean, honestly, I don't know who picks their shows last minute. But my stuff is, usually a year in advance pretty much what you're going to hit. Yeah. So what is this to actually commit to it? Be like, okay, that's what I'm shooting for, and do everything for it, Usually you the shows you decided anyway. It's very few times you postpone or change.
If I was the IFB, I'd literally hire a full-time social media manager, like someone who would just literally, their job is Instagram, and you have a graphic designer. So that person can go, hey, we want an image of the point standings done up all pretty that we can post on social media of the top guys. Because when do you see that point standing posted by anyone on IG? It's like you never fucking see it. It's ridiculous, man.
You see that.
All the qualified list, I mean.
Yeah, you see it every now and then. It's pretty rare,
Yeah, but it's just not. We shouldn't have to be going, oh, which page would that be on? Because, you hear it on podcasts. You go, oh, I think Bodybuilders Without Borders post that. If you just had one central location and it would have such a following, and you could sell sponsorship on it to even pay for itself, it would have 1 million followers, in a year or two probably. Because every IFB pro is going to follow it, and every fan eventually is going to follow it. But anyway, that's my thoughts. I don't know if you guys have any final words on that you want to sort of put out there.
No, I mean, obviously those are all great ideas, but I just gotta decide, just gonna see who. I feel like the Olympia, they put a lot of money in all that stuff, like you said before, the Olympia TV, they have all those YouTube shows and all, and I think just something to do more leading up to a show, and maybe it just needs someone to organize between the athletes and the shows, and be like, okay, we got those shows, we're gonna build up, around those names, the rivalry, like I was saying earlier. You need someone. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that has that position that could actually.
Well, I mean, you got to think that's what they did with Phil Heath and Kai Green. They built around that rivalry. I mean, they had Generation Iron make an entire movie around them.
Exactly. Before that was Jay and Ronnie, So.
Yeah, and I will say, like I said before, the Olympia's on the right track. They did the Derek Lunsford versus Samson Dowder. That was actually good, that one, because they both posed at the end of it. They were side by side. I liked that. You know what I mean? I think sometimes the production, when they went live once, it was a little bit dodgy and stuff, but the video. But then they're sort of perfecting that, and it's early days on that. So I think things like that are really good. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And as they do it, they're going to realize what works in terms of getting views, in terms of what the fans like. But that was good. Like the Derek versus Samson one, that was the best one they've done of those. And I think doing more of those close to the Olympia, if they could get someone doing it and get, we've got a whole team of people that work on that sort of stuff. So if they can just bang out a ton of things like that, to even just get someone videoed in there, do post production, not do it live,
Yeah,
get a ton of views.
It's not even that hard. Like, there's a few hot spots. You go to Florida, you go to Vegas, you got a few spots where you got most people. So it's not like you got to fly all over the country to get everybody,
No,
dude,
like you said, majority of people are right in these main spots anyways.
Yeah.
I could literally do it myself. Like if this was my job, I could do it I used to do this, man. I used to do it in Australia, like back in the day. What I used to do is I used to interview people afterwards over Skype or whatever, but I would go in the gym, film them, and then we'd talk over the workout afterwards, and like it'd always be like an interview over it. Something like that would work really good. But I mean, if I was there, I would put those little clip-on microphones on them. I would video both of them training, maybe get a bit of a mouthing off or whatever and having a joke around and stuff. It would go for 20 minutes, but I reckon that would get so many views. And I could just do individual ones with people, sort of like the Battle for the Olympia back in the day. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, exactly.
Stan. But bring it back. Like they've got the name Battle for the Olympia. Why isn't someone going around doing at least one workout, releasing it every second day on the Mr. Olympia channel, where we get 20-something guys, and we can get some of the top 212 guys, some of the top girls from the other divisions, the top two that are battling it out.
Yeah, the content is there. Most top guys, they actually put their YouTube channel, they put up the content on their different and stuff. So it just needs like someone to fill up that position, that actually takes, a little bit, Derek Lunsford last leg workout, he said this and that, and then if you have someone, this job is just to look through like the top guys' content and just pick some stuff up, to spice it up and be like, look what Samson said about Nick or vice versa.
I mean, it really doesn't take much.
No.
Like at all.
To like tie it up together,
Yeah. So Tarek, call me. Get me over to America.
We'll start a petition.
Yeah, I would love to do it, man. It's something that I've like had the idea of, and I'll just keep putting it out there, and hopefully it gets seen and gets picked up at some stage. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for doing this. I know we said we'd do it an hour, but we've gone almost an hour and a half. But it's been fun, and can't wait for Texas Pro this weekend. And hopefully, when I go live at some stage on a Friday or Saturday, you guys are able to jump in some stage and keep me company, especially on that Friday.
I don't think it'll be a problem.
Awesome. Love to hear it, man.
I'm definitely Saturday, but Friday I'll try for sure to
Awesome, man. Can't wait. All right, guys. So for myself, Xavier Wills, Logan Guthrie, and Stanimal Stan DeLongre, follow them as well on social media. I'll put all their links in the description below, so make sure you check them out on there. For all of us and myself, Xavier Wills, we are out. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Bodybuilding University. If you did, there's a ton more episodes on desktop bodybuilding right now from the past. We've had guys like Nick Walker on. Obviously, weekly we have Brett Wilkin, Nathan Diasha, Martin Fitzwater, Stanimal, Stan DeLongre. Recently had Beef Stew, Stuart Sutherland on. And we have a whole ton more guests coming up for you guys as well. Sergio Oliva Jr., tons of names coming to you guys. Also, you get tons of bodybuilding news, all that good stuff. So make sure you like this video, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself here, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, and you won't miss out on another episode of Bodybuilding University. So that's it for this one, guys. Xavier Wills and all the guys at Bodybuilding University. This is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.